Hi there, beautiful souls watching. Thank you and welcome. I'm Gabrielle, retired medium in Germany, and I like to share some of my otherworldly experiences and insights. So, this one is about entity attachment. I had to learn about that in different ways. I had this one client in a QHHT hypnosis session once years ago. A very nice young man with long hair and dressed all in white, running around more or less like a hippie or kind of Indian saint in the white clothes. And he was very gentle and very nice. But he told me that he had a problem with anger and he couldn't quite find out what it is that drove him sometimes to explode and yell around, and he was very unhappy with that. So he also had some other questions about his life purpose and so on. During the hypnosis, suddenly a force from out of him came through and started yelling at me. You know, I was kind of startled, but then suddenly I had the feeling as if some kind of dome came from above over me to shield me, like a force field or something like that. And I suddenly went totally calm and quiet, and he was just going on, F you, leave me alone, I don't want this, and so on. And I asked him, "Who are you? And why are you so angry?" And then it turned out it was another young man who died in anger in a war situation. And the anger, the suppressed anger in my client was kind of the same anger that many men or young men have. And so that was kind of where this other soul, a lost soul, who did not understand that he was dead, docked on. Maybe you remember this from a fairy tale. There's this kind of story in the dark forest. There are lost childs, a symbol for lost souls who don't know that they are dead and they're running around in the astral, and it's kind of like a dark forest. And then they see a light and they go to the light, and that's usually the same vibration with which they excarnated. So this man died in anger. All he knew was anger, that was his vibration. So he was magnetically kind of drawn to the same vibration in someone else, wherever he encountered it in the astral. So these two met in the astral, and the lost soul kind of docked into this client and lived in his auric field. And of course, because he was in anger, he was using the same vibration in my client. That was the reason why he, as usually a kind of gentle soul, exploded sometimes and was yelling around and kind of self-destructive, and also not very not very productive in his relationships. So I told this soul that he is kind of the soul of a dead person and that he died in this war, and that he's now living in the system, the microcosm of my client, and that he's kind of blocking or hindering my client to live his life. And he can also not carry on with his life and his development in the astral, going back finally into the light and the higher realms. So it was a lose-lose situation. And after he understood that, I asked the angels to come and help, and I made him aware, the lost soul, I made the lost soul aware of its own light, and I asked him to search for the light inside of his heart, and when he could find it, to make it bigger while breathing into it. and then accept the helping hand of the angels to lead him out of the microcosmic system of my client and bring him to where he belongs because of his frequency. Maybe he needs some healing of the anger or whatever, and or finally go into the light, to back to source. So that was kind of easy to be removed during the hypnosis session, and the guy was very happy afterwards. And he told me as well that he had kind of a strange feeling about his flat, that sometimes he felt some kind of a presence as if he's not alone. So as he pointed me into that direction, I was using my mediumship skills, and I also felt a presence, and it appeared to me like an older man with gray hair, and he was very attached to the flat. So I asked my client, sorry, uh, I asked my client whether he knew anything about the history of his flat. And maybe there was an old man who had lived there before him and maybe even died in that flat. And he said he didn't know. So I asked the ghost of the man that appeared to me, and he said that he had lived there and he had died in that flat, and that's why he was still attached to the flat. So I helped this lost soul to take the helping hand of the angels and move on to the light or to the vibratory realm where he belongs to, and to leave the flat and let it go, because now there's a different path for him opening as the soul of a deceased one. He can develop further on in the astral. And he accepted. Luckily, he was willing to go after he understood what happened, that he was dead and still clinging to his flat astrally. And usually I don't get some kind of feedback. People only come with their problems, but they, like when you go to a doctor, you tell him about your problems, your symptoms, your pain, and you want it to be removed, and you never go back to the doctor and tell him, oh, it worked really well and thank you so much. That's rarely the case, and also rarely the case with a medium. But that same night when I returned home from the session with this client, I was allowed to see the flat suddenly. I was in my bed, close to sleeping, and again, this stream of consciousness was in front of my inner eye, and suddenly I saw the outside view from his flat on the third level, and it was all glowing with white light. And that was some kind of proof for me that the work was done and the entity in the flat was removed, and also in the client. So now there could the white light grow more and more, and the place was clean because I cleaned it astrally also after the lost soul went on with the angels that had clung to that clung still to that flat. So that is one story of entity attachment. Mostly it's kind of lost souls that don't know that they are dead, and they dock on the vibration they carry. And even suiciders, you won't leave this world happily in suicide. You will go in frustration, in anger, or in sadness or depression. So that's the vibration you carry. And it's not changing just by passing over to across the veil and having no longer a body. In the astral realm, you have still all your subtle bodies, and the emotions and the vibration, your frequency is still there. So it's no good idea to avoid a lesson in this world and to commit suicide, because you have to face the things on the other side as well. you get more help over there, and you have more access to knowledge to understand. Or sometimes you come into a situation like that, from the other side as lost soul. And luckily, this guy came to me and I could handle that. So I thank the spirit world that I was able to work well in that case. Another case of entity attachment took me some more time to understand. I was invited by a friend of mine who also works in the spiritual field with hypnosis and energy healing and things like that. She invited me to come one Sunday afternoon to a park in her town, which is nearby to where I live. And she invited some other friends and people she knew that were interested in kind of stuff like that to just have some nice sunny Sunday afternoon with drumming and maybe chanting and playing around with different instruments and music and sound. So I like that, so I went there, and I met a woman there, a young, beautiful woman with long, dark hair, and she had just returned from the island Bali, where she had lived for several years, and she came back to Germany, and she was kind of very interested in spiritual things. And this woman found out later that I am a medium, and then she started more or less stalking me. So I barely had contact with her during that musical meeting. We spoke a few words, and that was it, more or less. And the next day, suddenly, she found out my number from the group or from someone in the group. And she started sending me WhatsApp messages, asking me this and that and another thing. And the first one or two messages I answered, and then I noted, no, there's something wrong. I felt this kind of demanding energy, as if she was putting out tentacles to suck energy from me, and I already stepped in answering. And I felt this like like the tentacles of an octopus on my astral body. And I started to think about this woman, why she's so after me, what does she want? And then I wrote her one message saying, stop, this does not work like that. You are asking questions that belong into a session. You don't have to book a session with me as a medium. You can go to anyone else, go to Anna, the friend that invited you to the music afternoon. It does not have to be me, but you're just playing as if you're my friend and we don't know each other. I just met you for 2 hours and we spoke a few words, that's all. And now you're abusing this relationship that we don't really have. There's nothing built like a friendship or a relationship. So she answered back and she said, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I understand, and blah, 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 blah. And carried just the same way on like she did before, sending me message after message. And that went on for the next few days. I mean, one message per day would have been okay, although I said, stop, not like that, this is something wrong here. And she sent 10, 15, and I got really kind of angry. And I wrote back another time and said, hey, it's not working like that. Stop it, or I have to block you. I have never done that before, block someone in WhatsApp. But I said, if you don't stop it, I'm going to do that. Sorry, but it's not okay what you're doing. And the whole case was kind of working in me and took energy and took a lot of thought, because I couldn't figure out what does she want from me and why she's kind of stalking me and why is she so after me. And I even felt I can't help this woman. I don't know. I don't understand what she wants. And then I found my friend who made the invitation to the afternoon in the park with music instruments. And I asked her about this woman, and I said, she's after me, she's stalking me on WhatsApp, and I really don't get it. Why, and what? And I told her that everything she's asking me belongs into a session, and she should better book a session with you or someone else. Doesn't have to be me. I'm not after clients. No, I don't need that. And she told me that she had made an appointment to book a session with her, and then 5 minutes before she cancelled. Oh, that was interesting. And then sometime later, a few days later, she came back and wanted again a session, and they did the session, and it was all about her being very angry and kind of a bit hysterically, Everything was high level, like an elegy, and she had a lot of arguments with her boyfriend, and everything was kind of a mess in her life. And when it came to the payment, my friend told me, and she didn't even pay. And I asked her, why don't you pay? I gave you a service. We worked energetically. And that woman responded, well, it didn't work because my boyfriend departed from me. So, okay. Wow. Kind of a tough sentence. And I thought by myself, there is something so absolutely wrong here, and I still don't get it. But the information of my friend told me more or less like a proof that there was something wrong with this woman. And at night in bed, I asked them because I couldn't figure it out, and I really begged and I wanted to understand it. And then I suddenly saw a picture. It was the face of the woman coming towards me, but her hair, her long black hair, was looking like tentacles, like some cables or something like black mist that was reaching out to grab me. And it gave me the impression, like from the Greek lore, there is this legend about the head of the Medusa with all these serpents, And then I got it. Oh, it's dark energy. See, she has got some kind of attachment that's reaching out to me. But I still wasn't quite sure, so I phoned another friend of mine, a shaman, and I just gave her the name of the person, and I asked her if she's okay with it and it's not interfering with divine will or free will, whatever, to just sense into the name of the person and tell me what she is perceiving. And she said she saw a woman with long dark hair, and on her neck there was sitting an entity looking like really the cliche of an Irish imp with red hair, and he was kind of ugly in the face, and he was hiding behind her head, but he was doing all this energy work. He was strengthening all her bad traits, like being hysterically and arguing with everybody and being really blunt and things like that. And after my shaman friend, gave me that picture, I really got it. Okay, this woman has an entity attachment. And surely she does not know about that, and she did not invite that with her free will. So I thanked my shaman friend, and I decided to do something about that because I still felt this sucking kind of tentacles in my astral body. And now that I knew that this entity, after sucking the other woman nearly empty, tried to jump over to someone with more energy. That's interesting because there's a lot of energy going on in that person. And that was me. So I sat down, called upon the light, And all the angels, especially the unemployed angels that have no firm task assigned to them, so they're ready to go and work and help. And I also asked Archangel Raphael, the healing force, and his wonderful healing team. And I asked to remove this entity from the woman if it does not interfere with free will and her soul plan. And I'm not interfering, but she surely does not want that and did not invite consciously that being to suck and live off from her energy. So I asked to remove the entity with all its traits and triggers and backup and reset programs, because sometimes these entities, they kind of grow roots very deep into your energetic system. So I asked to remove all of that and to seal the space where this foreign energy was attached to before, so that no other low energy can enter there again. And I also asked to remove all the installations that entity already tried to put into my astral body. And then I saw this kind of what I always call the hands of God. I saw a hand coming from above, from out of a cloud, with a big golden scissor, cutting off all these energy connections that entity had already tried to install into me. And then I was allowed to see another picture, which I really liked. I saw two angels removing this entity from the microcosmic system of that woman. And they did it more or less by force, because the entity was nasty and evil and did not want to go. So it was kind of clinging. And the angels, as white figures, were just taking it under the arms and leading it away. Kind of prisoner to be healed and cured from its bad habits to feed off other people's energy. And it turned its head and looked back at me and said something very, very nasty to try to hurt me. But it didn't work, because I, at that point, had got the story and I had no bad feelings against this entity, because I know now, that was kind of more or less already prophesized, that the 4D, the lower astral realms, where all these negative entities and beings stayed for quite a long time without developing higher skills and up to higher frequency and realms, it has to implode with the higher frequency coming now in from the cosmic area, because all these galaxies, all our solar system, all this is kind of like a giant clockwork. That's why the ancients were so obsessed with observing the cycles. The Mayans even by that found the great year, which needs an observation over 24,000 years. So that's a project for generations. You won't get the end result in your own lifetime. And all these movements in the universe from planets and solar systems is really like a giant clockwork. And now is the time to get up the next step and get the frequencies higher and consciousness higher. So all these negative energies still residing in the lower 4 astral, they flee to 3D and attach to people and suck off, live off their energy until they are removed or can no longer attach because of frequency. So the only thing that really helps is raise your own frequency. Because if you are in higher frequency, then these beings, they cannot reach you, they cannot touch you. They operate on low frequency like fear and anger, sadness, frustration, things like that, everything negative. And if you are positive, or at least more than 50, 60, 70% positive, and you can remain your focus onto positive things. Do things you love, what makes you happy. Dance in your living room for 5 minutes to your favorite song. That's moving the body, that's helping, and you come into a better mood. So there's a lot of help, and there are many tools, and the only thing that's really working in long terms is raise your frequency. And we get all the help at the moment right now from the universe with incoming higher frequencies. If you look at the Schumann resonance, although there's some manipulation going on as well, you can see that there were special times when it nearly freaked out. It was totally blank and they had to turn off their machines because a very high frequency cosmic energy was coming in. It was more or less in the range of alpha brain waves and theta brain waves. And alpha is meditative state, and theta is before you fall asleep and the moment when you wake up, which is prolonged in QHHT to get contact with the higher self or the subconscious to ask your questions. So theta and alpha are kind of very meditative, relaxed stages of brainwaves and consciousness. And they are very helping because when you are relaxed and in a good mood and high vibrating, then you're open and you attract more high vibration and more high happiness. And I can only recommend what Daryl Anka is channeling via Bashar. His formula, which is kind of really simple, and it works if you apply it to your life. It's going like that. Follow your passion, whatever makes you happy, makes your heart jump with joy. Follow that. Follow it with no expectation about the outcome whatsoever. And take it until you can take it no further. So, and if you meet or encounter along this path, following your passion with no expectation about the outcome and really engaging and taking it as far as you can, if you encounter something else that attracts you more, then follow that, because synchronicities in the universe sometimes or very often work like that. First there have to happen this one thing, and after that can happen another thing. So it's easier to direct a subject or an object, maybe us, in motion if we're already engaging and moving, than an object that's standing still and feeling stuck and nothing is going on. How can I make this happen or move? It's easier when you're in motion. And when you follow your passion, you're doing something you like, you love, playing an instrument, learning to draw, dancing or whatever, or gardening or arranging flowers, whatever it is that makes you happy. You know what you feel, what kind of happiness you feel with certain activities, or even non-activities like meditating or just sitting in the garden and enjoying the sun or the birds or whatever. So follow your happiness, follow your passion, and you will always be happy, and you will draw more happiness into your life, and you will be more content, and everything will get more easy, and you're coming more into the flow state. And if you don't expect anything, everything you experience, everything that comes to you, that happens, is kind of a gift. And even if some bad things happen, always ask yourself, what is the message? What am I supposed to learn from it? Because if you get the message, the symptom can resolve and go away. And that's what I want to share today, and with what I want to leave you now. And I hope there's something in there for you to make you ponder or change your viewpoint or whatever. And never think anything is lost. Nobody is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. There is always possibilities and changes and chances to change. So just stick with some kind of positive vibration. That's the best you can do, and relax. Because when you're relaxed, you're open and things can come to you. When you're tense and under stress, your heart is closed, and in a closed heart, nothing can come in, neither bad nor good. So, leave you with that, beautiful thoughts. Thank you for watching. Blessings, love, and light.